All right, let's go ahead and do some filters on this layer. So make sure you select the thumbnail, not the mask, but the thumbnail. And the first one we're going to do is we're going to go to Filter. We're going to go to Noise, and we're going to go to Reduce Noise. What this is going to do is it's going to help us clean up some of the pixels and stuff that are going on here. So let me move this down. Let's move over towards his face. All right, so for the strength, what we're going to do is we're going to put in 10. It takes a second for it to render. 100, 0, 80, and do the remove JPEG artifact. What this does is helps to kind of reduce down some of the pixelization that was happening on the photo because of the diffuse. The diffuse and the sharpen ended up making the individual pixels a little bit tighter, which is what wasn't really the kind of look that I was going for. One of the things that I'm noticing on the Cameo version of this is it's not actually showing you the full effect until you zoom way in. So we'll end up checking that out later. But right here, we're going to sharpen. I'm going to go to unsharp mask. And I'm going to hold down my space bar, and I can click with my mouse and drag this down. So you can start to see like along here what's happening in the cheek. I'm liking that effect. So in order to do that at 130, 2, and 0, I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to go to Filter, Blur. I'm going to do Surface Blur. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to make it to where it blurs out part of the skin. So once again, I'm going to zoom back up here. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to do, my threshold is 10. And I'm going to do 10 for the radius, 5 for the threshold. Click OK. And then we're going to go up here to Image, Adjustments. Let's do Shadow and Highlights. I'm going to pull these down a little bit, maybe about 10 for the shadows, 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. Let's pull the highlights back in just a little bit. Probably do another 10 or 11. That's looking good. And then we'll click OK. And then what we're going to do is level this out just a little bit. Do levels. I'm going to hold down the Alt key in between there so that it's clipping that one to the photo below. I'm going to drag that over. That's starting to darken things up a bit. I like the look of that a little bit better. You can kind of see before and after. It's got some better tones. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control, and I'm going to click on this mask so it selects the whole thing. And then what I want to do is I want to go to Select and Mask. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this edge slightly. We'll talk more about what this thing does when we get into doing more of the collage project. But for now, what I want to do is down here under the global refinements, what I'd like to do is do 50 on the smooth. And then I'm going to move this down just a little bit. And I'm going to shift the edge slightly. So in order to do that, I just want to double check and make sure I've got everything set up correctly here. So we go 50. Let's do 0. Let's change the contrast to 100. And let's do the shift edge to -5. And then I'm just going to do OK. So what that's doing is it's allowing me to smooth this out just a little bit, this selection. So I used the mask to make this selection, and then shifting the edge slightly kicked it over so that now what I can do is we're going to go in and we're going to add in a stroke. So we're going to do this stroke doing a different method than what we did when we did the stroke for the text. We're actually going to go to Edit, Stroke, and I've chose a color already. If you want to type in right here under R, you can do 132184 if you want yours to be exactly like mine. I'm going to change the width to 6 pixels, and I'm going to make sure that the location is set for center. And then I'm going to click OK. And then what this is going to do, after you've made the selection, you just, like I said, you have to make sure it was on center, and you've clicked OK. Now I'm going to press Control D so we can zoom out just a little bit. Let me check and see. I realized is I accidentally did that on the mask instead of putting it on its own layer. So that messed up. So this is where the history comes into play. Let's go back up to history and let's redo that. So what I want to do is I want to go back up to load selection. And now that that selection is loaded, now I'm going to make a new mask. I mean, a new layer, blank layer, that one right down here. All right, now let's go ahead and go back and let's just redo that selected mask. So we are going to go to smooth. We're going to do 50. Let's do contrast 100. And let's do the shift edge -5 again. I'm going to do OK. So I'm on this layer. Now we can go back. We shouldn't have to make any changes to this. It should still remember the previous one we did. Shift, color, center. Perfect. We'll do OK. And then deselect. All right. Now, it's a subtle thing, but this is what it ended up doing. See how there's this white line now around, or the line around the edge? It's as if this circle was bleeding out and traced all the way around there. It traced all the way around the top part and then did the same thing down here on his body. So it basically created that stroked outline. So we used this layer to select, and then we used the refine and mask, or the select and mask, to shift it off one way so that now that particular thing is set up. And let me zoom out a little ways, and let's do two last things, and we will finish this one up. So let's go to the adjustment layer. Let's go to vibrance. I want to pop the vibrance here. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to do about 36 or so, -4, and let's add some text in real quick. So we're going to do a simpler version of the text than I did in the other tutorial, just because we took a lot of time to get this thing set the way that I had it before. So let's go ahead and choose the text tool. Let's go with vertical type. We're going to come up here and we're going to install a font real quick. Maybe. There we go. And I'm going to do more from Adobe Fonts. Let's click on that. How do you want to open this? Let's go Chrome. This will be the first time trying to install a font using the Cameo one. So I'm very curious to see what ends up coming up. So be patient. Let's see if this works the way that it should. You're going to need to sign in. Okay, that's annoying. That should have done it automatically, but it's just a learning curve thing now that we're using this new software that's not the one that I use in my classroom. So we choose company and school account. Kind of go through this whole process again. Whoops, wrong one. All right, there we go. And the font that I want to use is one called Azo. Azo Sans. It's a real thick block letter that I like. Let's scroll down. See all these different versions of Azo. I want this one, this Uber regular. What you're going to do is you're going to click on this to activate. Once you've done activate font, then let's see how long it takes for this to go in. It should. Azo Sans Uber, there it is. Excellent. So then you can choose it. So now I'm going to click right here. Type in King. Really tiny because I'm using 12-point font. I'm going to hold my mouse button down on the T and I'm going to start to drag. I'm going to keep dragging. There we go. Now, this is a cool effect. I'm going to do Alt with all the text selected. If I press Alt, I can use my up arrows. I should have been able to. Apparently, that doesn't work in Cameo. Awesome. Let's go ahead and do the check mark there. And let's finish this part up really quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that right there. And I'm going to press Control T. This is going to let me hold down the Shift key, and it'll let me make the text bigger. Actually, I'm not going to do the Shift key because I forgot they have changed that with this version where it's actually making it distorted. There we go. Just want it to be bigger. And now I'm going to do a really fast effect on here. I'm going to do a stroke on the outside. I'm going to click on color. I'm going to use the eyedropper and I'm going to select that circle color. Move this out of the way for a second so I can see what's happening here. So I want to put the stroke on the outside, and I'm going to increase the size. I'm going to put the size to about 20 or so. All right, it's 18, that's fine. I'm going to do a gradient overlay. I'm going to click on this gradient. And what I want to do is I want this to be a dark color. So I'm going to just choose black to white. And I'm going to change this blending mode here to overlay. And it's not really going to look like it does anything yet, but that's okay. And then I am going to do an inner shadow. And I'm going to do 307, 35 on the opacity, multiply, and black. All right, so nothing's really happening yet until I change this color. What I want to do is I want to double click on the T. I want to grab this color, and let's take a look. And I'm going to choose this darker color that's on the outside. I'm going to hit the check mark. And I'm going to change one thing. I'm going to go to the gradient overlay effect here. I want to change the direction of the gradient overlay. I don't like that it's going up and down like that. I'd like to do, so let's type in like 180. Or let's flip it and say, yeah, that's looking a little bit better. Negative 180. Playing around with the scale just to see something like that, about 120. I'm going to drop the thing down just a little bit. All right, we'll zoom in just to take a look at the actual overall effect. It definitely looks much cooler when it's zoomed closer in. When it's further out, it looks like the video driver on the Cameo piece is really simplifying it quite a bit. But right here, that's the effect. So go ahead and save that, and you're going to turn in that PSD file.